Hey there, welcome to Woohoo Wednesday. So you know that we get hired a lot by clients to come up with new product ideas, but we also get hired for other kinds of innovation. You could innovate your supply chain, your distribution strategy, your pricing strategy, your customer experience, your employee experience. These are all things you should be innovating, and of course, you should be innovating your marketing. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, one of the things we've been really successful doing over the years with clients is what we call triangle thinking. You're like, what? Well, we actually decided to name it TriAdd. So it's about using the power of three to get additional benefits. Now I'm going to give you a story that is true that I'm not going to name the client names, but we did this years ago. So we had a cheese sauce client who wanted to launch a national sampling tour. And we had a 146 market tour with teams sampling cheese and nachos basically across the country. What did they need? They needed some kind of a cool brand to partner with that would get these college kids that they were reaching more excited and that they could borrow equity from. They had all of these venues that they had rented to do sampling, but they needed some kind of entertainment. What else did they do? They wanted to launch a promotion in store that would get their retail customers excited. So those were things that we could have paid for. We could have paid for entertainment, we could have paid promotional fees. But instead, we went to triangle thinking and we found some partners who had what we needed and they needed some things that we had. Now, it doesn't always work that you have this bi-directional relationship that someone who has what you need needs what you have. So this is where the triangle comes into play. You come up with a third party who can throw into the pot and you all take out what you need. And guess what? In this case, it didn't cost us $1. No one paid any money to each other. We got a record company to give us their new talent, multiple bands to play across the country for us at these college campuses. Now, what did they need? They needed venues because they didn't have bars and places for them all to play. They also needed to spiff their record store. Now, this was back in the day when they had record stores. And this record store wanted some kind of promotion to pull people into their actual store. This was when e-commerce was really starting to boom. So what did? We worked with this record label who had thousands of licensed songs, and they created a cheesy love song CD for us. We sold it in this record store with a whole promotional campaign that we promoted on thousands of jars of this cheese sauce, promoting this record store in grocery, so they got their brand exposure in a totally different channel. The record label, they reimbursed all of the coupons, so we didn't have to pay a dime for that. So they paid for the coupons that was for this cheesy love song CD in the record stores. And then we got all this talent. So we had this talent on tour and the record label got talent exposure for these bands. This is a win-win-win. And again, not $1 was exchanged between any of the parties. Now, how do you do this? You start with, what do you have first? What do you need? Now, be exhaustive in your list and list all the things that you have. What are all of the things that you might not value that someone else might value? It could be a customer list that you obviously have to be respectful of privacy laws. It could be customer relationships. It could be brand equity that you have to lend to some other brand. It could be a venue that you have control over. It could be an experience. It could be a partnership. It could be your products that you have to give away that they actually want that they don't want to pay for. And then what do you need? And of course, you can make that list up. You can go through all the things that you would normally be willing to pay for. So now I want to give you an example. I just thought of 3 partners that I think would have a perfect way of creating a triangle partnership. Now, these are not clients, and I'll probably call one of them and say, hey, we should really do this. Now, I thought, what do airlines need? Well, airlines really need to cut their costs for their food and the things that they give out inside the flights, like maybe magazine production or different kinds of things that they do to entertain their customers. Now, they might not always have Wi-Fi, so they might need ways to entertain kids who could be crying or noisy. They might need ways to entertain people at the terminal when they get laid over and they might have a delay. They might need ways to create a cool, fun brand because they are looking kind of boring and conservative. Okay, what do they have? Well, they have plane tickets. Obviously, they can do all sorts of things with promotions and plane tickets. They have flight attendants. They have terminals. They have seats. They have airplanes. They have a captive audience. They have itineraries of these customers before they go. They have all this stuff that they could be leveraging instead of spending money to buy food or games or all the things that I mentioned. Now, who else might they partner with that could help them solve their problems? Well, I thought of Lego or a board game company. Now, how could a game company help the airlines? Well, what if they were to give these to business travelers, because it helps them reach a maybe more senior audience than their kids, and maybe it's a mindfulness or meditation for business travelers. Maybe it's little trial packs of these games for the kids to play with while they're on the flight. And then they get excited and they want to get the rest of it when they get off the plane to go on their rest of their vacation. So then that takes me to, where else would you play games? You could play it at the terminal when you have layovers. You could have contests. There are all these Lego enthusiasts who would come to the airline or the airports and teach people how to make these cool different things. And they might have challenges that then take on a social media aspect where people are comparing airport creativity to one another. Now, how does this all monetize for them? How do they either sell more tickets, save more money, sell more games? Well, you bring in a third party, someone like W.H. Smith. So why wouldn't you have W.H. Smith or another retail store in the airport selling these custom game packs that are for the airline partnership that they then want to buy and take on the rest of their trip? How could W.H. Smith bring something to the table that they've got, which is they sell all sorts of snacks and foods, and they might have samples of all of the foods that they're taking into W.H. Smith that they will negotiate and give to the airline to hand out to their customers while they're on the flight. So now you try this new snack bar on the flight, and W.H. Smith helps negotiate the samples for all of these new products. You get off the plane and you love that snack bar and you buy the snack bar. So you see how this happens. You come up with what you have and what you need. And everything I just described, there's no money exchanged. So the airline gives the Lego company some airline tickets to do a family trip sweepstakes on their box or on their website. Or W.H. Smith promotes this in the airports where they create a cool challenge with their games of a place that they want to go, and they get entered to win a family trip. These are all sorts of ideas that you could come up with all day long with your team. You just need to be exhaustive in your listing, and then you need to be open-minded to thinking about who might want to partner with us that doesn't either have the money to spend on these things, or they just might be creative enough to see that you put $1 of value in and you get 10 out. So this is what it's like to innovate in triangles. We call it TriAdd because you get so much more added value. You get added brand equity from each other. You get added exposure to new targets. You might get added exposure in new channels. There are lots of different benefits, but they are definitely additional to what you would get if you were just spending with your checkbook for those marketing spends. So let's put this into practice. If you need our help, you know where we are. We're happy to help you brainstorm this, but this is just another way you should be innovating in your marketing thinking. Have a great week.